Hey guys, welcome to the JT Fitness full breakdown of the bench press today. We're going to cover how to set the bench up and the bar up in the correct positions, and then obviously cover all the techniques that you're going to need to perform an optimal and strong bench press. Check them out. Okay guys, so the first thing we're going to talk about is obviously setting up the bench press for the bench press. So the first thing you'll need is a flat bench. You don't want to obviously on a decline or an incline for this variant. We are just going dead flat, so just find the bench that's best suited for that one. Next thing with the bench is just make sure that it is lined up smack bang in the middle of the rack. Some racks will have kind of holes for the bench to sit into to make sure it's lined up. Some may have markers to show where the middle of the rack is. Our one is completely freestanding here, so you will need to take your time to find where the middle is. This will become very important later down the session, so that when you unrack the bar and you start benching, that you're not going to be lopsided or you're not going to be hitting into the J-hooks or the safety bars. Talking of which, the next two we're going to talk about is the J-hooks. The J-hooks want to be in a position so that when you take the bar out, and again, we'll talk about this more in a second, is that when you take the bar out, you should be able to easily lift the bar up and bring it forward without instructions. Be able to then put it back and put it down without any sort of obstructions, okay? The next thing to talk about is obviously the safety arms. If you are new to bench pressing, then I would highly recommend having these safety arms there, or if you train by yourself, I would highly recommend having those safety arms there. What they're there to do is obviously catch the bar if you were to miss the bench press in the very bottom position. Bench press is probably one of the more risky ones if you are to miss the lift, because if the bar has nowhere to go besides on top of you. So when you set up, bring this bar down, and say you get stuck here, I can easily deflate the chest, flatten my back out, and then I can roll this bar off me, and I'm free to go. So now that we've got that discussed, let's talk about the actual techniques for the bench press. Okay guys, we're going to talk about grip first, so where we want to place our hands on the barbell. Now this is going to be different for every single person. It's going to depend on kind of the torso size, it's going to depend on your arm length, your upper arm and your lower arm. So there's going to be a few variables. So what I'm going to go today is over the key points that I would look out for as a coach. So number one, as you view from this angle here, when I reach the bottom of the bench press, that my forearm should be stacked nicely on top of my elbow. So when you look at it from here, what you should be able to see is both forearms are pointing vertically. Then the same wants to be said. The top position. Okay, so again, when we're down at the very bottom of our bench press, you want to make sure the knuckles are covering the elbows. So at no point should I be able to see the inside or the outside of the elbow. This will obviously determine kind of A, how wide we're gripping, but then B, also where we place the bar on our chest, which we'll get to a little later down the line. But right now, we're just going to have a look at grip. So for grip, what I would also recommend is that you have marker points. So you obviously have the rings of the barbell. You also have where the knurling starts. You obviously have the center grip as well on most bars. Wouldn't probably use this one too much, but you would use where the knurling starts, and I definitely use the rings for a lot of my clients. So a lot of my clients will measure up using the rings. We only have one ring on this being a weightlifting bar. So what you'd want to do is, again, for me personally, I'm grabbing just inside those rings. And again, just using them as measurement points. They're not necessarily where you should place your hands, but they can be used for good measuring point. What you'll then find is once I've got myself set, lifting the bar up and out, I'm going to bring it down to my chest. And hopefully, as you can see by the video there, that my both forearms are completely straight when pressing the barbell. Another thing to note is the direction of your wrist, okay? So a lot of people will bench with their wrist backwards. This is not particularly pleasant. If you hold the bar in the tip of your fingers or the base of your hand, you can see how that would put a tremendous lot of strain through the wrist. So what we're looking to do is hold it about a 45-degree position. The bar should sit nicely in that little cup we've created for ourselves. Some people will say dead vertical, but again, you're then going to put a lot of pressure kind of through the front of the hands and you may miss the bar forward. It's rare, but there's a chance there. And I'd rather mitigate that chance. So having your knuckles at a 45-degree is going to be the best angle to hold the barbell. Okay guys, now that we have the bench press set up, we found where we're going to place our grip. We're next going to talk about the setup for a strong position. This is also going to help us protect the shoulders, and I'm also going to talk about where the bar should be touching on the chest to enable what we mentioned before, that bird's eye view, the coverage of the elbow and the most optimal position to press from. So we're going to take our setup as normal. So we're going to lie down. The first thing we're going to do, guys, when we lie down is get our eyes in line with this barbell, okay? If your head's way up at the top or way below, it's going to make unracking the bar incredibly difficult. We want to make this unrack as easy as possible. This is why some people get spotters to lift up and pass out to them. Again, we're trying to make it as easy as possible and save as much energy. From there, we're going to take our grip. Now, here's where we get a little bit more complex, and hopefully you'll be able to see from this side angle, is what I'm going to start to do now is I'm going to pull my shoulder blades together and slightly down. What that's going to do is elevate my sternum or my chest bone to lift myself up. I'll pull the shoulders back and ensure that we don't get too much external or internal rotation. If you've ever hurt your shoulder on a bench press, it's probably because you ended up pressing either too far forward or too far backwards. That would definitely strain the shoulder. So we're going to take our grip. Now, there's multiple different ways you can do this. Some people shoot up, some people will wriggle. It's totally up to you. I'm a wriggler, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one shoulder at a time, get them as low as I can to arch my sternum. You can do something similar with the feet where you're trying to push your hips up, but it is a bit more of a powerlifting technique. So today we're not going to cover that, but we just want to lift this sternum as high as possible. Hopefully you can see now, but I have created an arch in the low back. That's perfectly fine. There's no loading through the spine, so there's no risk of injury here, contrary to what a lot of people will say. Again, I'm going to take my grip. Now I'm set up. I'll lift the bar out, bring it forward, and I'm looking to bring that bar down to the bottom of my sternum or the highest part of my body. So that arch that I've just created is now going to be my target point to touch, and then I'm pressing up in a straight line. The body loves straight lines. Again, straight down, straight up. You don't need to over press. Again, some people will just try and show off and show how far they can press. There's no need for it. All you need to be doing is locking out the elbows. A bad rep or an over press rep will look something like so. You unravel the shoulders, and then if you're going for extra repetitions, you're now in a worse position than where you started off at. So create that arch. You might do it before the grip. Take the lift out, up, forwards, touch, and go. And again, your goal will be to be consistently touching that high spot. What I'd recommend if you are brand new to bench pressing is taking that negative or the down phase much slower, so maybe 3 to 5 seconds on the way down, just so you can get more practice of being accurate of where you touch. You should be touching, and again, shoulders tucked, chest high. And there you have it, guys. That is the complete guide to a bench press. Now, obviously, we have some powerlifting techniques that we could use here, but this guide is solely for the purpose of learning how to use the bench press safely and effectively for all variations of training. These techniques showed you today will cover any sort of bodybuilding training, power training, physique training, anything along those lines will treat you well. If you're interested in learning more, drop me a comment or a DM and I will try to get back to you as quick as I can. But hopefully, guys, you enjoyed the video. Please make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, and I will see you in the next one.